What's up, Active Lifers? Welcome back to the Active Life Podcast. I'm Dr. Sean Pastuch. I'm your host. On today's podcast, our guest is Billy Eubanks. Billy is the manager of a club called 3 Points Fitness in Mississippi. Billy is a shining example of the way that the stuff that we go through with gym owners and coaches can be executed in any market if the belief system is such that it's necessary and it's valuable. On this podcast, you're going to listen to how Billy manages going through high integrity decision-making, developing staff, monetizing a product that nobody thought anybody would pay for, and most importantly, elevating other people to come along with him. He's not doing it by himself. He has a staff behind him. If you're thinking, how do I find staff who are going to do this? How do I convince them that people will buy and pay for this and value it? You need to listen to this episode with Billy Eubanks. Please remember, if you like the podcast, leave us a review, take a screenshot of it, send it to me at Dr. Sean Pastuch on Instagram. I'm picking one person every week to do a private 15-minute free consulting call. So if you've already submitted a review, you're in the running already. If you haven't, write one, screenshot it, submit it, and you might be the next winner. Let's get to the show. Billy Eubanks, welcome to the Active Life Podcast.
Hey, Dr. Sean, thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you, man. It's so funny because you enrolled in ProPath on a call with me. And then every time I talk to Ken, you're not typically on our Friday calls, right? You're not, I don't know if you have something else going on in your life. I'd love to see you there. But every time I talk to Ken, who is your direct mentor, he's like, dude, Billy Eubanks just gets it. He's so good. He gets it. So I want to thank you for, I guess, for what we're going to talk about here momentarily about how you're changing the game down in Arkansas.
Yeah, I used to have a client in that spot where the owners community call would happen. But then here recently I found the coaches community call that happens every Friday. Mm-hmm. So I'm on that one every Friday.
Okay, fair enough. So why don't you share with people a little bit about what makes your situation unique in regards to where your gym is and how it functions as kind of a business within a business.
Gotcha. So we're located in Oak Grove, Mississippi. It's a part of Hattiesburg. I don't know really how they district it all out, but it's a well-to-do part of Hattiesburg. And so we are inside a facility that is a commercial gym. 2 years ago, the owners of the CrossFit gym that I've worked at for 6 or 7 years now rented out a space so that they could improve their square footage. And then now we operate the 3 Points LLC in the same facility. So we have us, the CrossFit gym, all within inside of this commercial facility.
So I want to make sure I'm saying this clearly to represent it the way that it is. There is a commercial gym, which is I think it's like 50,000 square feet. Is that right? 50?
Something close to that from my knowledge. Yeah.
Big space. There's a CrossFit gym inside of the space that is its own business. Yes.
Correct.
And then there's 3 Points, which is what you're running.
Yes.
What is different about how does 3 Points differentiate itself from the commercial gym and from the CrossFit gym inside of the space?
We focus specifically on what we're learning at Active Life. That is identifying people's problems and limitations, discovering what those are, and then helping them achieve those goals, whether it's through a limitation or something else that's a pain point for them. So we sort of took over, for lack of a better word, the entire personal training division of Anatomies, so that anybody who is looking for personal training comes through 3 Points. Yeah.
Got it. So if I'm understanding you correctly, effectively 3 Points now functions as the personal training department for the commercial gym. Is that right?
For the commercial gym and for FS Fit, the CrossFit gym.
Got it. So the CrossFit gym exclusively offers group classes. The commercial gym exclusively offers its group fitness and access to the equipment. 3 Points services the personal training on behalf of both of those businesses. Yes?
Correct. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Is there overlap in who the coaches are?
Yes, there is some. We have 5 total coaches on staff, myself included, and 2 of them are from the commercial side, and then 2 of them are from the FS Fit side.
How does that work out in terms of financial splits? Do you have to pay a rent to the commercial gym? Do you pay a rent to the CrossFit gym for the access to their clients? How does that work?
We pay a rent to the facility, mm-hmm. and then all sessions that are performed under the 3 Points company, they're paid out to coaches from under 3 Point. We don't pay anything to FS Fit if we figure out that we can help one of those clients in a way that they're not currently being helped.
So the way I'm picturing this is, because you're all located inside the same 4 walls or 18 walls, however many walls are in that building, it feels like it's 3 businesses functioning as one. But in reality, if we were to take this out of the location that you're in and go somewhere else, we might find a commercial gym that's next door to a CrossFit that's next door to a personal training studio.
Precisely.
And all of and the personal training studio might pay rent to the landlord who owns the gym because they own your building too, but you're not paying them a portion of the fees generated by the business.
No, sir.
And you're not paying the CrossFit a portion of the fees generated by the business.
No, sir. And the way that came to be is the owner of FS Fit, along with the owner of the facility, came together and decided they wanted to do something different with personal training. Mm-hmm. So they together hold the LLC that we operate under.
So you're the manager. You run the show. Yes?
Yes, sir.
The CrossFit gym and the commercial gym together own the personal training department that is 3 Points.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So you don't need to pay them a fee because they're already getting paid off of every single session because technically they own that business as a partnership.
Yes, that's correct.
And what that does is it gives you the opportunity to speak to members inside of both without them having any fear or disdain for you, quote, taking their clients, because you're taking their clients to their own third business.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's interesting. How did that come about?
So when the 2 owners came together and decided they wanted to do something different, I've been a coach with FS Fit since they opened their doors. I help them install the rigs, put together everything. Once they decided they wanted to do something different, they approached me to ask me to run it. Shortly before or either shortly after they came to me with this proposition is when I found Active Life. And I said, okay, yes, we can do this, but this is how we need to do it. So then showing them some of the content and then the calls that we had with Nick, they were all on board and was like, okay, this is the way that we're going to do it.
How has it worked out so far? Not in regards to, you don't need to give us a testimonial about Active Life. I'm curious about how it's worked out in regards to what you all thought was going to be success as compared to what's actually happened now. Are they happy with the way that things are going in this partnership they're in?
Yes, they are happy. We thought that we would have a lot slower of a start. We thought that for the price that we were asking in this area, that it just wouldn't sell. People wouldn't buy it. Like everybody had that. Nobody's willing to pay for that sort of mentality.
Yeah.
And I was just like, look, it's worth it if we prove the value to people, show them how we can help them fix their situations, then it's absolutely worth it. So we just had to trust the process and then push forward. The numbers that we're doing are far from what we're capable of doing, but it's still miles ahead of where we thought it would be this deep in.
Am I okay to ask you specific questions about numbers, or is that something you guys would rather not talk about on the air?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll do the best to remember them off the top of my head.
Yeah. So the first question is, what are you charging?
So we've actually been through 3 different prices within this first year.
All with us? We've changed prices with you 3 times?
No. So for example, when we started last October, our 48 pack was 37 and change, $3,700, a little bit over
per session.
Per set for the total of the 48 pack. And it was based off the $110 model that Active Life gives to you. Yeah. And after that, we realized that we were losing money. So we increased to like 40-25 for the 48 pack. And then now in the last 3 months ish, we've increased to 44-16. And that puts us where we need to be so that we're not just breaking even.
So you were losing money or you were missing opportunity?
Losing money.
Interesting. How did that happen at the price point that you guys were at?
For the first price point, it was taxes and transaction fees that weren't accounted for.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we figured out that, yes, we are covering those costs, but the profit margin on it was close to nothing, mm-hmm. especially if we sold 48 packs. If we sold 12s or 24s, there was a little bit more there. But then that third shift is what put us to where we wanted to be within all of those margins for every package that was sold.
So now you're selling sessions at 48 a clip, which is your least expensive session price, at almost $100 a session.
Yes. It's based off we basically moved the number to where it averages out it's all based off 125 a session mm-hmm. for that single session, and then divvies down from there.
Good job, man.
Thank you.
And what was when you guys were in no one's going to pay that here in Mississippi, and you said, no, they are, if we just have to trust the process. How did you help the other two owners get over that fear? And the coaches too, by that matter.
The coaches I'm still working on. So I've had one coach with me since immersion. She's been through and graduated immersion with me. So this process happened months ago for her, helping them to be confident enough to understand that they're worth the sticker price. Mm-hmm. So when we first started, it was just proof of concept. We, like I said, started out pretty hot. I had 4 or 5 clients join within the first week or two, sold them all. And it was like, okay, here's the proof. Now we just have to get the first coach I had, and now the rest of the coaches that we have on staff, as confident and comfortable with everything as I am, so that they can do the same thing.
And they're enrolled in ALP, I imagine, yes?
Yes. Yeah. Perfect. We're all in ALP, correct.
Perfect. So you said you're doing better than you thought you would be at this point, but not as much as you would like to be doing in terms of revenue right now. Can I ask you what revenue is right now for that personal training business?
I don't have that number off the top of my head. We have a total of about 14 clients on roster between all 5 coaches. So when the figure that I have in mind when I say that is getting all of our coaches to a full roster.
Right.
To where they have as many floor hours as they want.
Well, I imagine at 14 people, you're looking at 30 to 35 sessions a week. Does that sound about right?
Between all of us, yes, somewhere around there.
And so let's say 35 a week times 4 would be 140 plus 0.3. Let's say you're doing 150 sessions a month. Does that sound about right?
It's pretty close, yeah.
Which gets you to probably around $15,000 a month in personal training. Where do you guys want to be?
So I don't have a specific number like, I want us to do 50,000 a month. I maybe should have that, but I typically view it, or in my brain, lay it out in, if I can get all of my coaches to this 20, 25 floor hours to where they're all full, in a position to where any other little responsibilities that they have and want to let go of, they feel comfortable doing that, then that would be where that would put us where I want to be.
What I think is really smart about what you're saying there is you're not looking at a financial number and saying, this is the goal. You're looking at the pieces of the process that, when complete, would designate the goal as also being complete, right? So for example, if you have 3 coaches and you want all of them to be full, which we would consider 25 floor hours plus 13 admin hours, and admin being program design, relationship building, all that kind of stuff, the math lines up for the number of dollars that you need to make. And so instead of focusing on the dollars, you focus on how do we help these coaches get full, and then the dollars will be there in the end. I think that's very mature.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what I have owners for. I let them do the math. I've been in corporate business for a handful of years before this, so I sort of am familiar with how it operates, but my brain isn't really into that. So they can let me know where the numbers need to be, and I just want to keep focusing on the coaches and making them the best coaches that we can.
And are you salaried to do that, or is that something that you're paid based on commission the way the gym works?
So I'm based on commission for that. Yes. So I get paid per session, like the typical active life model. And then I also make a commission based off the session sold.
Very cool. What have you found to be the biggest challenge? Because let me rephrase that. I talk to people every day, right? And I talk to both clients and I talk to prospects and I talk to people who are not interested at all. I find it useful to talk to all kinds of people. Most of the time when I talk to people who live between, let's say, East Texas and West Florida, as far north as Northern Kentucky, they tell me it must be, I'm sure it's nice for you in New York to do that, but that's not going to work here. And I often say to them, I'd be happy to introduce you to clients who we have who are in your area who are experiencing the opposite. But I'm curious to hear from you, what's been the biggest challenge? Is it demographic? Is it, the number of people who are already frequenting the gym? Is it the coaches believing in it? Where's your biggest challenge?
Our biggest pain point at the moment is just having the coaches be confident enough to go out and sell the solutions to the clients, being confident enough to have those conversations, because a lot of our coaches, as caring as they are still in this old sort of, and I associate it with a CrossFit mindset of we're coaches. We do this because we love it, and trying to get them to understand that doing it this way allows you to fully service the client without giving your time away for free and causing you to burn out. So they're just in that mindset of people aren't going to pay for it. So that's been the biggest obstacle.
How do they keep justifying that when $15,000 a month is flowing in, or roundabout? Let's not go ahead and assume 15,000 is the right number. I don't want to put words in your mouth. How do they go ahead and justify that when you have 14 people who are training with you several times a week, paying $100 a session?
I think it's a personal confidence thing. I don't think it's we're not sure that the market is willing to pay for it. It's how am I that valuable as a coach? Yeah.
So it's not, I follow. It's not, will the market pay for it? It's will the market pay me for that?
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. And how are you helping them get over that?
Slow, gradual. Honestly, the biggest thing, and we had a team meeting about this yesterday, our biggest measure of progress, not necessarily success, but progress, has been getting through the education. Because I know, just from example, for myself and Wendy, the coach who went through immersion with me, the more that we got through that education, the more confident and competent we became. So it becomes easier to have these conversations when you're diligently doing the work. So getting the ball rolling with that, so that they understand, like, look, this leads to this. And that's the best way to get from this mindset that you're in to the mindset that you want to be in. Getting them to understand that has been the biggest help. And I think we have the ball rolling in the right direction.
How long have they been in the education for now?
So their enrollment was not all in one time. So roughly about 3 to 4 months.
Okay. So I would be willing to place a small wager that most of those sessions that are happening on a weekly basis are between you and Wendy.
Correct.
Yeah.
With Noah being a close second.
Okay. So the beautiful thing is, as like you described, they start to pick up more and more confidence along the way. All of the numbers start to improve.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm curious. You have an interesting case study that I have a lot of curiosity about, because there's a commercial gym that has however many members it has, and there's a CrossFit gym where people are paying, I imagine, more money than they pay for access to the commercial. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Where do most of your personal training clients come from?
All of every personal training client that we've had so far, and this is extremely interesting, has been through people coming into the facility saying, hey, I'm looking for personal training, outside of one direct referral that I got this week.
Interesting. So they're new members coming in looking for personal training. They're not resourced out of the existing membership in either business yet.
We have had one or two who have had underlying issues that would not make them the right fit for just a traditional gym setting, who were members of the facility. And then once they learned what we do, then they came seeking personal training. So we do have one or two of those as well.
It sounds like there's a huge amount of opportunity to find people within both sides of the business, more easily found in the CrossFit gym, who could use personal training.
Absolutely. Without a doubt.
And that comes down to the coaches just having the confidence to talk to the clients in the way that they need to be spoken to so that they can make a decision for themselves.
Precisely. Yes, sir.
So you mentioned earlier that you feel like part of the reason why they have this mindset around money that is a little bit more scarce than you would like it to be is that's just an old CrossFit/fitness mindset. Why do you think that is the case? Meaning, where do you think your belief that mindset comes out of the CrossFit and the fitness industry comes from?
I think it's that old statement of, we don't do this for the money. We do it because we love it. And being so attached to that sentiment that's all you can see is that sentiment.
Where does that come from though? Like here's what I'm describing, right? I've actually spent more time than I care to admit looking for when was the first time that became something people said. I can't find it, but I'm with you. It's something that everybody says. So what I want to understand is, where do you think that comes from?
Maybe it's some sort of, and this is just a shot in the dark, but maybe it's a type of rationalization for, I'm in this facility doing something that I love, the facility in this case being an old CrossFit gym. I'm in this facility doing something I love, trying to help people that I care about the best that I can. And even though I'm not making a lot of money, maybe this is how I justify doing what I'm doing, yet making so little. Mm-hmm. Maybe.
Well, before you worked with us, were you doing personal training yourself?
I had one or two clients.
So did you have that mindset?
Yes, absolutely.
So what changed it for you?
It twofold. It was one, going and progressing through the active life education. And then the other thing was just basically a fake it till you make it situation. I knew that if I didn't present this bold presence of, look, this thing is going to work, it has no option but to work, then no one else would have done that. And then also I left a corporate job to come to this full time. So it sort of had to work.
Let's talk about that. What corporate job did you leave?
I sold heating and air conditioning equipment to contractors who install them into residences and businesses.
So you were the wholesaler?
Yes.
Okay. Did your experience were you cold calling? How did that work?
No, mine was mostly counter sales and then some on the road stuff.
Counter sales meaning they would walk into the store?
Yes.
Okay. Was that helpful for you in getting better at this? Was your experience transacting with people in that environment helpful for you in transitioning to be a successful personal trainer, for lack of a better description right now?
Yeah, I think it's the being in the position where presenting yourself as a professional, that definitely helped. And then without directly knowing it, all of these sales that I'm making on a day-to-day basis, whether it's just a direct transaction or telling a customer about a new product, it helped me to figure out how to sell.
Mm-hmm. Now, earlier when you were talking about selling, you put it in quotes. You put your little air quotes up in the air. Why still do you feel like you need to soften the blow of the sound of the word sell?
So the reason for it, so it's shifted. The reason for it months ago would have been, I'm still a little timid around asking for this much money for what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Now I'm to the point to where I get so excited when in a consult with a potential client that just the last thing that I'm thinking about is the money. Like once we get to that portion of the consultation, then we talk about the money. And if there's any questions or comments or concerns, then we discuss those. But now it's just so far removed that it doesn't feel like a sale.
Why not?
It just, because I'm excited to work with this potential client and help them solve their problem. And we need to do this regardless of the money.
I want you to keep talking about this because this is an area where I remember when I was a personal trainer at Equinox, I couldn't imagine selling somebody anything more than a six-pack. I was like, there's no way people are going to spend thousands of dollars to buy training from me. No way. No way. So I'm going to sell them six. And I think at the time, six was like, I don't know, somewhere around $360. No, would have been more than that. $460. Whatever. And I was like, no one's buying 12, 24. No way. 40, 80 you must be out of your mind. Right?
Yeah.
And then by the time I was done training there, I refused to sell anything smaller than a 24. I'm like, go ahead.
That's a concept that I've been toying around with in my head, is whether to so I saw a video that was like, if you give people three options, they typically pick the middle one. So I've been playing with the idea of like, if we offer a 24, 36 and a 48, that is our primary offering. And we always have the 12 or the one-off sessions if the scenario fits. Because sometimes now we get that we offer a 12, a 24 and a 48. And even though these clients continue to re-sign, they seem to be like, if they sign up for a 24 pack initially, they seem to be stuck on, let's just do 24 more. Let's just do 24 more.
Well, I'll tell you what we're messing with. I'll tell you what we're doing at the Long Beach location. You know, what we decided basically was when we open up this location in Long Beach, we're going to take chances on things that we wouldn't ask our clients to take chances on until we've bared them out. Right? We want to say, we've done it. Here's how it worked. Here are the struggles. Here's how we pivoted. Here's what you can do from the very beginning so that you don't have to do the pivot. Right? Sessions are $150. Doesn't matter how many you buy. And what we do is when someone comes in the door, we put them through an interview process. We put them through an assessment. And we tell them, based on this assessment and this interview process, we believe that your need is X. Today, somebody's need was 53 personal training sessions. Now, remember, in a normal gym, the idea is to keep that person a personal training client forever because otherwise there's no revenue coming in. Our ambition is to move them from personal training to the autonomous active life session, which we can talk about in a second. I don't know if you guys are doing those yet or not. But for us, it goes from $150 a session down to $889 a month. And the average person is doing 13, 14 sessions in a month. So that's a significant savings. You know, they go from almost $2,000 a month to $889. That's meaningful, right?
Absolutely.
So when we told someone this morning, you're going to need 53 sessions with a potential to add 20% more. So the potential for you to be around 65. She was like, okay. We said the way we want to do that is we want you to buy 12. And after your 12th session is performed, unless you tell us otherwise, it's just going to auto renew you for 12 more. And that's it. That's our price point. So there's no need for a sales conversation again. She's on a membership until she's done enough sessions to have the competence and the confidence to move into the autonomous sessions.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think Ken has discussed something like that with me before.
You know, we feel like it's the most genuine, the most high integrity move for us to say, look, we're not going to give you, we're not going to penalize you for buying smaller packages. Because really that's how we looked at it, right? Is 48 pack that's what we need to make on a session to be profitable. And everything above that, we're just basically charging them a financing fee to do fewer at a time. Like, we don't want to do that anymore. We're just going to charge them for as many sessions as they need. And they're going to believe us because we're authentic with them.
Gotcha. So then one aspect that I've really enjoyed, maybe not the right word, but something I've enjoyed, still can't think of a better word, having that conversation with people when it's time for them to renew, so that for myself personally, I can see that they're still deeply invested and committed to this thing that we're working on together. It's almost like hey, I don't want you just to forget about this and it draft. And then 6 months down the road, you're like, hey, I really didn't want to be doing this for the last 6 months. Can we stop now? Mm-hmm. I like having that buy-in from my clients saying that, okay, I'm still totally vested in this and I'm excited to keep going.
Well, I think that there's a line there that we need to avoid blurring, which is, I don't want them to know that they're going to get billed again. Let's just say nothing. As compared to, hey, I just want to remind you that today's your 12th session. And that means that tomorrow your account's going to get billed for 12 more. And do you have any problem with that? I want to make sure that you're aware that when you see it hit your account, you're good. So it's not different. It's that they don't need to go to the front desk with a credit card again. They don't need to remember to bring their account on file. They don't need to sign again and say, transact with me. It just takes the friction out of it. Kind of like a subscribe and save on Amazon. You don't forget that your groceries are coming. Mm-hmm. Or you do, and you get them and you're like, oh, damn it. I didn't mean to get these groceries, and you send them back. But it's a convenience for me, the buyer, to do it that way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Who is the client who's buying personal training? What are they dealing with? Why not join the CrossFit? Why not just join the commercial? Why are they coming in and saying, I want to buy personal training?
It sort of runs the gamut. So I have a couple who just have simple fitness goals. I'm using my air quotes again. Mm-hmm. Simple fitness goals, things like lose weight, build muscle. That's their goal, even though there's things underlying within that. And then I have people who, like one lady that I started working with about 6 weeks ago, has a complete ankle replacement on her right leg, and she has no plantar dorsiflexion or rotation. At least she didn't when we started working together.
And she does now.
She does now. Yes.
Tell me more about that.
So her name is Christy. Like I said, she started with me about 6 weeks ago, and she's 6 years post ankle replacement. And due to the nature of the type of surgery where they cut and reattach the tendons after the replacement, even post physical therapy, she just didn't have a lot of the range that they thought she would have access to. So she lived on it for several years, just getting by, and then found me for us. I think because her husband joined the CrossFit gym, and then someone stopped me and told me about his wife. So we started working together, and 5 weeks into us working together, she had improved her total range of motion in the ankle, but would occasionally get like this sudden weakness. And so we immediately thought, okay, well, let's go see the physician, have the replacement checked out, make sure it's not failing or anything like that. And she, the next day, booked an x-ray with the physician, went and saw him, told him who I was and what she was doing. I sent her prepared. I sent her with look, this is the company that we work with. And immediately upon him seeing that, he was like, okay, I know who they are. Keep doing what you're doing because it's working.
That's great.
That was super gratifying.
Did they, that's really cool. What did they attribute the weakness to? Do they know?
The physician thought it was just the tissues adapting to the new stimulus that it is being put under.
I think it was wildly responsible of you to make that physician referral. And that's something that people oftentimes, I find, are afraid to do. I'm not describing our clients. I'm talking about people who we're yet to work with. And I think a lot of the reason for that is that there's fear that the physician will tell them to stop doing it. What gave you the confidence the physician would not tell her to stop doing it? You didn't know that they knew who you were.
It was just the right thing to do. She had something going on that I had no knowledge around. And so any guesses would have just been literally that. So I'm like, you have to go see the only person that can tell you what is potentially going on. Because if I'm doing something that is degrading that replacement, I'm not going to be the one to cause this lady to have to go back under the knife because I'm afraid to tell her to go see her physician, regardless of how it affects me or not.
I love that. Did you reach out to the physician yourself at all afterwards?
She is sending me an email today because I do have questions for him.
Who is sending you an email?
The client is sending me a contact email for the physician.
Perfect. When did she go see the physician?
10 days ago.
Okay. May I make a recommendation to you?
Absolutely.
Send a thank you card.
To the physician.
Go in with it. Yes. So you handwrite a thank you card. And the thank you card is something that is around all of the feelings that you had before you sent her in. You talk about how, like, look, I believed it was the right thing to do for this person to have her come and see you because I was afraid that this might be what was going on. And I wanted to make absolutely certain that we were avoiding that. I appreciate not only the way that you handled her when she came back to you as a patient, but also the way that you instilled confidence in her to continue working with me here at 3 Points. I can't tell you how much that means to me. I just want to thank you so much for having enough respect for me to share that, even though we've never met. You bring that card in. You tell the front desk staff that the physician did something that was very kind, and you wanted to come in and just hand deliver a thank you card to make sure that they got it, and bring some chocolates for the front desk staff. Oftentimes, that physician will want to refer patients to you, but not have the time or the awareness as to how to do it. Because if they're seeing a patient, the visit's over, they have to go see another patient. They might even say, you should go join a gym. And we have a guy we really like. His name is Billy. He's over at 3 Points. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. And then they forget. And they call on the front desk because, like, I don't know who he's talking about. And he's busy with patients. Can I call you back? Like, no, don't worry about it. You show up. You learn the front desk staff. You give a thank you card to the doctor. You give it, chocolates or whatever, fruit to the front desk staff. You make sure they know your name. You give them contact information for you. And you say, if you guys ever need anything, please feel free to reach out to me. This was so helpful. Now they have a way to share that, not only with future patients, but they could use it themselves.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm definitely doing that.
Good. What is different about what you can do with personal training clients than what you can do with those clients in, say, the CrossFit gym? Because obviously it's obvious what's different about personal training from just a regular commercial gym membership, because there's no oversight. But in the CrossFit gym, what they're buying is effectively a level of coaching that is less expensive because it's shared across a large group of people, but that's oftentimes billed as like personal training without the cost.
So if I'm understanding the question correctly, there's just no room for the level of detail and nuance for the individual inside of a CrossFit space.
What do you mean by that? Hear me out for a second. I want you right now to picture one of the 50 CrossFit gym owners or coaches who you know, not far from you, who would say otherwise. You follow me?
Not clarify for me.
I imagine that 50 CrossFit coaches or CrossFit gym owners. You've been on the local competition scene. You've been to their gyms, all that kind of stuff. If you said to them, there is no room for the nuance and the personalization for an individual in a CrossFit class that there is in a one-on-one training session, I imagine many of them would push back and say that's not true.
I would just have to ask them, how is that true? I mean, and then I would assume that we would go into these hypotheticals of, well, if you had this client presenting with this issue, how are you going to handle or manage that type of situation inside of a group of 10 to 20 people.
Well, so that's what I want to ask you about, because you had to have that revelation one day yourself, right? You had to have the revelation yourself to do this with us at all, that there are people here who I cannot help the way I want to help them. I need to be able to get them in a different environment and work with them in a different way. What led to that? And who was an example of that?
Oh, okay. I see now. Okay. I would have athletes who would squat and their back would tweak. I have spent my career studying Kelly Starrett, Aaron Horsig, all of those guys, so that I could help people to the best of my ability. And one, none of the solutions that I needed were turning up. And then two, even if I had an idea of how to help, like the specific client I have in mind is this lady named Timber Bond. Every time she would do like thrusters, for example, her right side of her back would lock up. And she went and talked to her general physician, and he was like, yeah, your SI joint is popping out. Here's how you get it to pop back in, and then just rest it. Well, my thought was like, how do I prevent it from popping out? Mm-hmm. And then if I can figure out how to prevent it from popping out, well, then it's just a matter of having the time and opportunity to see those solutions through. I mean, and that's like one of the first questions I asked, or one of the big questions, not necessarily the first questions I asked Nick when we were in the sign up process, is I gave him a layout that I'd written down on a page. I'm like, this is the client that I want to be able to help. Can Active Life teach me how to do that? Hopefully that answers the question.
It does. What it answers much of it. What I'm envisioning is you say this to a really good CrossFit coach and they're like, yeah, we can do that in the group class. Why can't they?
The only thing that's coming to my mind is your time is just too divided. Like for Timber, it turned out that she had a strength imbalance from left to right. And then as she would get fatigued, that's when she would shift and become imbalanced. And then something would happen. For her to correct those issues, you might be able to pull it off in a group class environment, but she is doing something totally separate from the general program that is prescribed to that class.
How did you figure out she had a left to right imbalance and that was potentially leading to it?
Going through immersion, we had the assignment to perform a strength imbalance. And then as soon as that assignment came up, I'm like, oh, let's see if that is what's going on with her. So I put her through a strength balance.
What was the strength balance test you put her through?
The unilateral front rack step up, left and right.
And what was she able to do? So for people who are listening, what Billy is saying is he had this client put a barbell on her front rack. I don't know, what was the weight? It doesn't matter.
Like 45 pounds.
45 pounds total weight. He got her to a box that was right above her kneecap height. Yes.
Yes.
Because that simulates the angle that the knee and the hip are going to be at in the bottom of a squat. And he had her do as many step ups as she could on the left and then on the right after ample rest. Do you remember how many she got on each side?
Roughly 9 and 6.
Okay, so it wasn't a huge gap.
No, it was, according to the percentages that we were being taught, it was significant, right, but not extreme.
Right. And so you then, I imagine, started program designing for her to even those out. Is that true?
Well, for this client in particular, she was sort of like a case study for the assignment that I had to do. Mm-hmm. So at the end of that assignment, we were instructed to give 2 parameters or constraints for training for the client to follow, so that to try to help them stay out of this. So it was more of like, if you stick to these 2 sort of guiding principles, hopefully that will help this to not reoccur.
So what they were teaching you there was your client's back keeps going out with thrusters. One of the reasons for that might be because your client is doing 70% of the work on one of her legs. So what we want you to do is anytime that you would have her do a thruster, find a way to do it unilaterally. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that
or go ahead?
No, you go.
That or one of my constraints for her was to, like, if you find yourself in a week doing this many total thrusters, let's scale that back a little bit and then sort of rebuild across multiple weeks so that we don't sort of run into this capacity barrier.
And what was the result of that for her?
Just off those two parameters, her agitation moments are a lot less frequent. Today, that was been roughly 8 months ago, something like that. Recently, she's been out of the gym a little bit more just because of life. But when she is in the gym that I know of, she hasn't had any significant flare-ups.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
Why isn't she a personal training client? She sounds perfect.
I don't know.
Sounds like a good question to ask her.
It is.
I'm going to share with you why I think she sounds perfect. She's doing what she needs to do to mitigate having a flare-up, which is great. Mm-hmm. I imagine she would rather not have to do that. Mm-hmm. And she's been inconsistently coming to the gym recently because of life. I imagine she could use somebody holding her accountable because she wants the results that she gets from coming to the gym. That is a perfect one-on-one client. Let's create the environment in which you no longer need to worry about flare-ups, meaning we solve the problem that leads to the flare-ups. And then you can do everything you want to do in the gym without limitation. And let's figure out how to work through all of these reasons that you're not coming in right now. Because this is only going to keep popping up in your life. It's only going to be consistent. Ask someone who does not highly prioritize their health and fitness, why don't you work out? I don't have time. Ask someone who does prioritize it, why do you work out? It's important. So I schedule it first. She needs help with that.
Gotcha. I agree. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any kind of, I don't know how to describe it, resentment from either the commercial gym owner or the CrossFit gym owner that you, someone who used to coach in the CrossFit gym on a regular basis, is now dedicating most of your time to doing this thing that's not technically in either of them?
No. They both see the value of what we're doing and how we're helping people. The biggest mental shift that is happening is on the CrossFit side. Because we all grew up or came up, however you want to word it, doing CrossFit. So we have this soft spot for it, and helping people change the mindset of going from like, this is just the thing we do to this is how we actually help people is been a little bit of a shift. But it's still progressing in the right direction.
What do you mean by it's been a little bit of a shift to how we help people?
Because before we were incompletely helping people just get fitter.
You say
regardless of what their actual goals were.
Okay. So go ahead, keep going.
I was saying, and now we're prescriptively and intently helping people with the things that they truly care about, instead of saying, oh, we just need to get you to where you can do chest to bar pull-ups.
But the CrossFit gym is still doing that, yes?
Yes.
So how do I ask this in a good way? I'm struggling with this question. How have you influenced, or how could you influence the CrossFit gym to up-level even what they're doing?
So that's what we're in the process of doing with the two coaches that I have going through ALP from the CrossFit side, is getting them confident and competent and being able to help people will show that population that there is a better way to do things, and getting out of this mentality of CrossFit is the thing that we do.
Is there any
it's not as defining.
Is there any fear, do you think, that there won't be a CrossFit gym there?
I don't see why they wouldn't have that fear.
They being the CrossFit gym owner?
No, not necessarily the owner, because I've said to him in meetings that my vision for the future, if it's possible, I mean, obviously they have to be on board with that too, is I can envision a future where we no longer have the CrossFit, to where we just have the active life model. We have autonomous classes, we have our one-on-one clients, and we just switch to helping people in a better way.
How did he respond to that?
He was like, I'm on board.
So what's the weight?
I'm for it.
So what I would love to hear.
With the weight?
Yeah. I mean, what do you run the active life autonomous sessions yet or no?
No.
Okay. So for people listening, what that is when someone would show up to the gym with a program written for them by a coach who's on staff, who they've already been doing personal training with. Now they don't need to pay for personal training anymore. They can come in and work out on a time that's more convenient for them in a room with up to 9 of their friends, overseen by a professional coach on staff, so they know they're doing all of their reps properly. The energy in the room is lower than what you would experience in a CrossFit gym. There is no bringing into the whiteboard. There is no loud music. There is no, let's go, come on, you can finish. It is very individual focused with the opportunity to do it in a social, communal environment. That requires a coach to write the program design for each person, to be constantly in contact with that person, and for someone to be in the room to watch them and support them while they do it. It allows for more flexibility of solutions to be provided at the same time. What I'm asking you is, if the CrossFit gym owner who's in there right now sees this as something that he is on board for doing, what is the holdup to actually making that transition?
Staff confidence.
Interesting. So his fear is, if we pull the trigger on this right now, we could lose the staff because they're not sure they can deliver it.
No, it's more so that, so if we snapped our fingers today and switched to the autonomous model, we wouldn't have the staff to run the classes.
Why not? You have 3 people.
They're not in a spot where they're confident enough that they could provide that type of service.
Right. That's what I'm talking about. So they're not there yet on, I believe I'm good enough at this to warrant that price in this room doing this service.
And the confidence to say, I'm actually able to help these people go from where they're at to where they're going.
Do you have a deadline on when they need to have that confidence by? Because 3 months in, I'm not saying that's enough that they're done, but 3 months in, they have finished the immersion content that you were talking about that gave you all the confidence when that was still a course for us. Now that's 8% of ALP, 8%, right? The immersion course that used to be our whole education represents 8% of the material in the course. And you didn't have a mentor when you took immersion. Now they have mentors. They have someone who's going to actually make sure they're doing everything properly. So their up ramp should be faster. Do you have a deadline by which you need them to demonstrate that they're capable?
We don't. I've spent the last several weeks working with their individual mentors to help them be on track to get to particular points within the content, because they were sort of slow to dive into the content. So that whole where you would expect them to be versus where they're at is a little lagging. So that's something that we've been working on.
Is there incentive for them to finish or for them to get to that point?
Not that I can think of.
I think that's worth considering. What is the incentive for them to move through it? What is the incentive for them to actually demonstrate the competence and the confidence to move into that model?
What would that look like?
They can stop getting, what do you guys pay them per class now?
For the CrossFit, it's 15 or 20. I could be wrong with that because I haven't coached a CrossFit class in a year.
And what do they get paid for personal training?
The standard 50 active life what Active Life recommends.
But so what are you paying them? How much per session?
$50.
So $50 in what town?
Oak Grove, Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
What does a 1-bedroom apartment there cost?
I don't know. I know the mean household income is $35,000.
Okay, so the median household income where you are is $35,000 a year. Yes?
Correct.
And they're getting paid $50 per personal training session. What is the town?
Hattiesburg.
Let's see. We're going to Google it right here on the podcast. We're going to Google Hattiesburg, Mississippi, apartment for rent. Let's see what comes up here. We're going to go to realtor.com and we're going to wait for my internet. So what I'm seeing right now is 1 bedroom, 1.5 bath, 1 bedroom, 1 bath. Let's just go with those. The most expensive is $1,050 a month. The average looks like it's about $750 a month. The low is about $500 a month. Does that feel about right for your area?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, great. So if they're making $50 per floor hour training clients, and let's say they get to let's just say they only hit 20. They don't even exceed 20, right? That's $1,000 a week. Times 4.3 is $4,300 a month. Their rent ends up being less than 1/8 of what their monthly income is. That's usually a really good formula for financial freedom.
Yeah.
Which right now they have no way of pursuing making $15 to $20 an hour. Follow?
Yes, sir.
So that's part of the incentive. That's the financial part. The other part of the incentive is, do they want to help start getting people the same kind of results that you're getting them with personal training? What do you think?
Yes.
Have you ever? Go ahead.
They do via all the conversations that we've had together.
What might be valuable is in one of your staff meetings, asking if one of your one-on-one personal training clients who's had a significant life change would be open to coming in and talking to them about how meaningful it's been and how worth the money it's been. Do you have a client you can think of who would do that?
Yes, sir.
If they are in the room with that client and that client walks in and says, you don't understand what I've been able to do because of the personal training that I did with Billy. And I've spent $6,000 since we started. And I would have spent double that to get what I have right now. That starts to instill confidence in them because now they have, nobody would say that over here in the CrossFit gym that I can think of. I'm definitely not getting paid as if I'm getting those results for people in the CrossFit gym. I can do both of those things and people will be happy. Yeah. That might be really valuable for them.
Yeah, I think so too. And we've had these conversations about this is potentially what you could earn and things like that. And through the conversations, it seems like they are interested in helping people achieve these outcomes. I'm not sure if there's just a general hesitancy or what it is, but I like this to try to break through that.
Mm-hmm. We also have a pair of brothers in Mississippi who you might be aware of also. Yes? You're smiling?
Yeah. I had one of the brothers up to our facility at the end of last week. We hung out for a bit.
Did they talk to anyone on your staff?
They talked to some of our front desk and operating staff and met one of the coaches that we have on staff.
Did they talk to the coaches on staff about their personal journey?
No, sir. No.
That's another meeting to have. Because now here's the thing, right? Right now, you're the guy who wants this to happen. But if they're talking to someone who has no vested interest in them being successful, and they come out and they're like, look, you can do this. Right? Ryan Barrett, Justin Barrett, right? The Barrett brothers.
Yeah.
These are guys who are close to, if not exceeding 6 figures right now in a similar demographic to you up the road. What are they in Jackson? Is that where they are? Joplin?
Wiggins.
I don't know what that means. But similar demographic, yes?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if they come in like, I'm making close to $100,000 a year, I'm making $100,000 a year, and these are the results that my clients are getting, and these are the testimonials they're giving, and the referrals that they're giving, I think it would incentivize your staff to want to do the same thing.
Yeah, I like that idea as well. And if anything, it's they're maybe in a slightly tougher demographic than us. So Hattiesburg is significantly larger than where they're at.
Right. So they're making it happen in a smaller market than you're in.
Sir. Yes.
Yeah. I would definitely ask them if they would come out and have that conversation. Billy, I think you're a shining example of the kind of, I mean, you're the manager, but you're the kind of gym owner we want to work with, right? So what would you say to somebody out there right now who, let me phrase this differently. Why are you inspired to help people the way that you are?
I thought about this last night because I had a similar question in a similar vein that I was going to ask you. I always go back to this example because it's one of the more recent ones. Me and Christy were working together and we were doing a simple like tibialis raise with a kettlebell. And she was done with a set and was like wiggling her ankle. And she's like, Billy, I've never been able to do this.
Christy is the ankle replacement, yes?
Correct. Yes, sir. Okay. And she started tearing up a little bit. And I looked at her. I was like, I'm not an overly emotional person. I was like, but don't do this right now because I might break down too. The amount of joy, fulfillment, happiness, whatever you want to call it, in that moment, knowing that I helped her achieve something that she's been without for the last 6 years is the reason why I'm as passionate as I am about doing the things that we're doing.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, feels awesome.
And what made you decide that you wanted to do it in the first place? Because you hadn't had that experience when you decided.
I've always enjoyed coaching. That's from day one. There's just always been something about helping people and the relationships that I've built with them and my ability to help them to do the thing. It's always been fulfilling, but with the new type of personal training client that I'm getting, just take whatever that feeling used to be and magnify it times 10. So there's always been a glimpse of it there because I've always enjoyed coaching, but now it's just a lot bigger.
I love to hear that. I'm proud to have been a part of it. I appreciate you giving us the chance to.
Yeah, that's why I said I have to thank you and blame you all at the same time.
I'll take it all. What is the question you wanted to ask me?
Why is it important for you to fill the gap between fitness and healthcare?
Yeah, I get the chills when you ask that question as I think about the answer I want to give. I'll give you the longish version of the answer to this. When I was in 7th grade, I had an incident in which I got bullied in school. One time, but it was pivotal for me because I really hated how it felt. And I made sure that wouldn't happen again to the best of my ability. I see people all the time getting bullied by the fitness industry and getting bullied by the nutrition industry and getting bullied by the healthcare industry. It's the people who are told, like, you know, they're thought of as lazy because they're overweight. They're not lazy. There's more to it. I know some people, I got a guy in mind I'm thinking of right now, used to work 16-hour days at his job and made sure everybody else was happy and well taken care of. And he was probably 250 pounds overweight. And one of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. That's not a lazy guy. To describe him as such is irresponsible. And there are millions just like him. it's not uncommon for somebody who's dealing with a joint injury to believe that this is the best it's going to get, and I just got to find a different way to live my life because that's what the medical industry tells them. They go in and they say, I want to get out of knee pain. The industry tells them, well, stop doing the things that you're doing that cause knee pain. That person's being bullied. It's not on purpose. There's not a person there who has malintent, but they're failing that person. And I talked about this on behalf of Mike Bledsoe on the Strong Coach Summit. In fitness, we have this urge to point the finger at the medical industry and say, you tell everybody the same thing: medicate it, rest it, or operate on it. And they all need different things. Be more careful, be more specific. And then they come to the gym and we tell all of them, don't worry, we can work around that. We can modify for that. That's the same thing. It's the same thing, but it's in the gym language. Mm-hmm. Oh, it hurts you when you squat? Don't worry. You can get super fit without squatting.
Yeah.
Great. But I want to be able to squat, for example. What's your plan for that? Oh, we don't have one. Well, okay. Then you can't actually help me completely. But that person shows up every day and they find themselves in the corner. And to me, it's a different kind of bullying because nobody is telling them you're dumb, you're less than, you're fat, you're lazy. It's just implied that they don't have the same opportunity that anybody else does. And to me, that was an egregious oversight by both industries. And the barrier to entry into the medical world is so high. You know, some of my friends have $250,000 in student loans. I was fortunate the last year of school, I was able to live at home. But they have $250,000 in student loans. And it's 3.5 years of school after college. So they have student loans from college too. And then you get out and you have to earn your own way. And everyone's like, oh, the doctors don't take long enough with patients. Well, they have $450,000 of debt all in, or $350,000. And they're making it back $75 at a time with overhead. How much time you want to spend? It's a hard game for them. And then on the other side, you have coaches who have absolutely no barrier to entry. All you need is a heartbeat, a credit card, and a pair of shorts. And you can be a coach. Yeah. Those are too far apart. There needs to be something in the middle and something that connects the two sides. And I felt like until that exists, people will continue to be told that there is no better way for them to live their lives. And I felt like that was simply inadequate. And so our responsibility at Active Life is to step in between the bully and the bullied and create solutions for them both.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
I appreciate that answer.
I could talk about that. I just got the chills again. I could talk about that for hours with you, man. Because I've seen it. I've seen it. And you know, I get into, I don't want to make this the podcast where you interview me and I talk the whole time, but I'll tell you this because I think you're finding value in it. I find myself in timeout everywhere outside of Active Life. Right? So I know I can't go talk anywhere at a CrossFit event because my name is on a list. Right? I have confirmation of that much. I know that I don't get invited to the events that talk about how to build your gym business revenue because I don't talk enough about marketing. I talk more about making a better product. And the organizers of the events, to their credit, have told me as such. Mm-hmm. I know that there are events that I'm not able to go to because there are other sponsors who are there who don't want me on stage. I've been told as much on that front as well. And so the easier thing for us to do would just be to help people run more profitable gyms. That's easy. But that doesn't solve the problem that we're out to solve. And so I could discuss this. You have a podcast, like I'm talking about it on yours.
We have plans to. We just haven't gotten it off the ground yet.
Fair enough.
But yeah. No, that's interesting. It's now my head is spinning with all kinds of different thoughts and stuff leading into that. But
like what?
Like why? If I maybe it's just me personally, but if there's a better way to do things, why not do them that way?
Because you need to have. Okay, good question. We need to be respectful of where other people are in their decision-making process. And there are people who would say, you're not a better way to do it. And to them, I would say, you're right. We're not a better way to do it for a subset of the population for whom you are a better way to do it. Let's now have a discussion, if we can agree on those two things. Let's now have a discussion about who is the population for whom you are the best option, and who is the population for whom we are the best option, both as an end user and as the professional providing the service. Let's come together and let's build the scope of each of our services together. So there is no argument about we can do that for these people too, but nobody wants to come to that table.
Yeah, that's interesting. Then how do I think we're both in agreement with the thought that if you could get everybody to come to the table, the world would be a better place for it.
For sure. I mean, we've already received for our new location we're bringing Long Beach, we've already received referrals from another gym in our town. I give that guy a ton of credit. And we've already referred people to other gyms around here. That we're not right for everybody. Mm-hmm. But let's get together and figure out who we're all right for.
Yeah.
So I think that there's a level of territorialism. There's a little bit of a level of unconscious incompetence where people believe they can help everybody because they have helped somebody who looks like that once before. So if they can work for them, it can work for everybody, which is not true. Yeah, I would love for everybody to want to help the people who we want to help and to see how our way is an effective way, but they got to get there on their own terms.
And so from that, I feel like one of the most effective things that we can do is to start just locally building these relationships with people, trying our best to get local companies to the table, so to speak, to have those and hopefully build those relationships to where we can create that sort of dynamic. That's
all you can do. I mean, obviously there's more, but I think that the critical thing for you guys is who are your allies? Who are the people whose lives you make easier because of a relationship they have with you? They'll send you members. Yeah. You don't have to ask.
Yeah.
Billy, is there anything that you would like to leave all the listeners today with?
Nothing in particular. Just, again, a thank you to you, but more so, to Active Life as a whole for creating this thing that allows me to do what I love doing professionally and to do it as what I do for a career and not just my side hustle. It's changed my life in a way that is still hard to wrap my head around sometimes, but I'm in it and living it. And so now I just put the pedal down and keep chugging forward.
I love to hear that. I would love to hear as one last parting shot, how has it changed your life? Because you just mentioned that it changed your life in ways that are hard for you to explain. I want you to explain what's different about your life.
I'm not working 16-hour days between a corporate job and coaching at night. I'm able to go spend time with my family. I'm not just existing in one job and then going to do a thing that I love. I'm able to wake up and go do the thing that I love every day. And I know that financially my family is taken care of. So I'm not neglecting that responsibility. So not only do I get to spend the time that I want to spend with my family, I'm able to support them and do something that I love, which up until a year ago, I was right at the point of either coaching or corporate. And if we had maybe until December before I just had to drop something, and I can tell you right now, at the rate I was going, it wasn't going to be the corporate job.
That you were going to drop. You would have dropped the coaching, you're saying? I would
have no longer been coaching. So to find active life in the moment that I did was, in my mind, at least as pivotal as it could have been for just the right time to find it.
Well, it makes me incredibly grateful to hear that. And I want to make sure everybody understands that that happens as a result of the commitment and the work that you put in. We create a road, and then it's your responsibility to drive down it. And you've done that at such an inspiring level that it compelled me to come and ask you to come on the podcast, even though we've only had 2 or 3 conversations since the day that you enrolled almost a year ago. Right? Mm-hmm. It's that everybody who I talk to on our staff mentions your name and talks about the integrity with which you carry yourself, the character that you exhibit, the professionalism that you exhibit, and that you just get it. And so I appreciate that from you.
That's extremely reassuring might not even be the right or strong enough word. For someone who is constantly in this state, and we've talked about this before, of having that imposter syndrome that is lingering in the back of my brain, to have Active Life say those extremely kind words about me is very gratifying, for lack of a better word.
I'm happy to say them. Billy, where can people find out more about you if they want to learn?
If you want to, contact us at info@3points.fit, or you can shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, anything like that. Just Billy Eubanks 23 and you'll find me.
All right. Billy, thanks for coming on today.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Active Life Podcast. Please remember, give us a hand, rate it, review it wherever you listen to shows. We are on a mission to humanize the healthcare industry by professionalizing the fitness industry to empower the individual to live a life unlimited by the way that their body looks, feels, or performs. If you are inspired by that mission and want to jump on the wagon, find us anywhere. Active Life Professional on Instagram, Active Life RX on Instagram. Come to me personally at Dr. Sean Pastuch. We want to welcome you onto the train. We want you to be a part of the mission. We want to offer you the opportunity to pursue this right alongside us. We're inspired by your effort, and we hope to help you in your journey. Turn pro.